Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Oz and Crew Reviews podcast. Once again, with me is my co host, Mad Matt.
Yes, there's one with the proton packs.
Today, we're here to talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Oh, where to start with this one? This was a treat, and I said before,
After the last movie, especially, it's a big treat.
yes, it was a little more serious and story focused than like a lot of the previous movies. There's humor there, but it's not as like big of a part of it as the previous movies. I think that might have been an overcorrection because of how bad the 2016 one was with all the
Possibly.
terrible
Yeah.
fucking ad libbing jokes in every fucking scene.
It also might be something to do with the new writers too, because I believe a lot of their previous work was drama work, so they were definitely focused on the whole family aspect.
Yeah, like a lot of the humor here kind of came from like the quirks of the characters more than just
Mm.
like intentional joke moments. I feel. Well, we'll get into that more when we talk about the characters. You wanna do the usual synopsis rundown?
Usual rundown. All right, so Ghostbusters Afterlife. We open up the movie with a mountain basically exploding with lightning, and if you listen closely, it sounds like it's a big proton pack, and then something screeching. We then get a silhouette, which is very apparently supposed to try and be Egon, first riding off in a truck, crashing the truck, and then running off with a ghost trap with a light that's trying to burn its way out of it, even though it doesn't seem to be successfully doing so. He gets to a farmhouse and hits a pad on the back deck, only for a silo to spark, and then nothing happens. He quickly dodges inside and is presumably attacked by a terror dog. We can only guess this because of the brief moment of a cloudy terror dog that appears behind him before the hands burst out of the chair to grab him like they grabbed Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah,
Also, we get the first taste of the fact that Egon has been kind of upgrading some of the gear in the last 20 years because his PKE meter immediately turns into a ghost taser,
yeah,
which he then tries to defend himself with, but sadly not successfully. We then pan to a couple months later. His daughter finds out that he has passed on, just as she's also getting evicted from her current apartment. No money, nowhere else to go. She doesn't really have a choice. She has to head off to the farmhouse and see what's going on and what she can make out of things. While there, Phoebe befriends her science teacher. She's going
you
essentially
you, pro-
to
you
like summer
probably you,
school.
you probably should stop to mention that the daughter had two kids because you didn't say
Oh yeah,
that
the
part.
daughter has two kids. The youngest is the daughter Phoebe, and the oldest is her son. Trying to remember here, Trevor. Um,
Yeah, they didn't say his name a whole lot throughout the
they
movie.
didn't. They did not. No, I had to double check on it. But yeah, Phoebe and Trevor. So Phoebe is very much taken off like her grandfather did, even though she's never met the man. She's very technical, very kind of silent and grounded. Even though she can definitely verbally express what she's feeling, she's very much like Egon, where she can kind of remain cold and collected whatever is going on around her. Matter of fact, apparently having hectic things going on around her helps her stay more grounded. Is one of the things she believes, at least at one point. They head off to the farm, find out there's nothing growing there, nothing monetary to really make out of the place. And as the mother Callie, I believe it is going through the place, she's just getting more and more distraught as she's also not seen any evidence that her father ever gave a care about her or anybody else. And even what we find out later on is that, well, we'll get into that actually. Well, we'll get into that later on. There's other stuff that happened that she's apparently already aware of. Um, Phoebe, as things are going on, she notices the chess pieces on the chessboard were moving after the chessboard suddenly took a dump. She also occasionally keeps getting spikes on the PKA meter, which she found underneath her grandfather's chair. Meanwhile, Trevor is off just trying to get like an afternoon job. He's crushed on a girl that also works at the same place. Um, and
Wow, you lost train of
I
thought.
don't
I've never seen you do that
know.
before.
Yeah, I just kind of lost it. I was trying to check names here. I can't catch her name right now. I'm looking at the list, and it's not coming to me. Not as fast as I wanted.
Oh, the
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
Lucky.
Oh, Lucky. Okay. Yeah. He crushes on a girl named Lucky, and she keeps kind of teasing him. And as he manages to somehow land a job still, the other coworkers occasionally tease him too. But eventually, they also take him out to kind of a after work get together on top of the nearby mountain, where as Phoebe found out from her other friend podcast that the girders from that made the apartment from Ghostbusters 1 came from this particular mine, and it's a weird material that shouldn't be made into girders because that's kind of already hazardous just to make it into that, much less actually use them for something. The apparently the mines got closed eventually because the workers committed suicide one after the other. Also, kind of hints at some of these supernatural going ons with the material that was made from this place. Not to mention, Ivo Shandor's name is on just about every other thing in town because apparently his mining operation is what made the town of Somerville. This is probably what also led Egon here to find out what's actually going on. And for several years now, tremors have been happening every single day, and people almost ignore it now like it's a normal thing. They find out, first of all, Phoebe finds the basement out in the shack. She finds a whole bunch of the Ghostbusters gear and even gets a proton pack to work. Her and Podcast test out a few things just before they witness their first ghost. And after that happens, Trevor finally gets the Ecto 1 up and working with again a little help from Grandpa Egon, twisting one of the wires closed for him and closing the hood, and goes for a little joyride. They happen to cross each other's paths as the other two are trying to catch up to the ghost that escaped from them. They head into town, and the radio in the car picks up police signals, and they find out that something ate the back end of a truck. So they are obviously closing in on the ghost. They give chase out to the other end of town and find out that it's headed towards the mountain where Trevor was with his coworkers earlier, and where he witnessed something down the tunnel. So the only way to find out what's actually going on in this town is to finally go down the tunnel, to which they find a giant, um, I guess you would call it ugh, a giant tomb. I guess there's a whole bunch of places where bodies are supposed to be, and several of them are missing. And they also find the actual Ivo Shandor down there in a glass case. And as the spirits try to rise up, Evo actually wakes up for a brief moment before I believe it was three giant proton pack like lasers shoot off to push back down whatever evil is trying to spawn out of this death trap.
It is worth noting before they went to this tomb, they did get arrested for chasing the ghost through
They,
town.
yeah, they did
Which
get arrested for
which
trying to grab the ghost,
which
and they get everything taken away from them, at least all the technical stuff.
yeah. Then back to the tomb where
Mhm. So they find out what's going on down there. The evening before, we find out that one of the terror dogs has broken free. The one that was possibly in the trap, and manages to possess Gary, Mr. Gooberson, the science teacher, who's also now been crushing on the kid's mom, Callie. And he becomes a terror dog and starts to mess with the proton pack beams inside the tomb to essentially free all the evil spirits. While that's happening, the other terror dog gets loose and obviously finds Callie, and then the two meet up to essentially release Gozer. The kids, realizing what's going on and having figured out everything else, get together in the basement again of the shack, get geared up as much as they can, head back to the police station where they are able to release everything because the police are now busy with all the ghosts in the town. They head off to the tomb where a giant, like, sacrificial podium has kind of pushed its way out from the mural that was there at the very front of the mine. And Gozer's already there waiting. In order to basically subterfuge, Phoebe walks out there and starts telling some of her really bad dad level jokes to keep Gozer confused until they get a trap in the right place and actually free her mom from being, I would assume, the gatekeeper. And they retrap the gatekeeper again. They run off. The Keymaster Pterodog Vince gives chase. They manage to elude him long enough that they get back to the farmhouse. They get everybody up to date, in particular the mother, who is just starting to figure things out herself after also finding a whole series of images based around her, meaning that dad has always been checking in on her. They start to set up the trap once more, only for it to yet again fail like it did for Egon. But that is the very moment that, because Phoebe, while they were at the prison, called up the original Ghostbusters number and got Ray. Ray got the other three to show up, and they appeared at the farmhouse to try and give Gozer what for. They do manage to at least buy some time. They manage to almost get Gozer, but there's not enough proton power to rip Gozer apart again. To which Phoebe steps in, and with the help of the spirit of her grandfather, is able to manage to sturdy herself long enough to keep Gozer at bay again, to get everyone else on track. And that's also when Trevor finally gets the gunner seat to work on the Ecto-1 again, but then realizes what he needs to do is to set off the traps. He uses the proton pack to power the trap, and finally sets everything off to trap all the spirits that make up Gozer and rip Gozer itself apart and finally trap it forever. Or so we assume. The Ghostbusters then go in to have some cocoa, possibly mixed with a little bit of alcohol because they're old enough for it. And through a series of other events, we get to see that a particular couple from the original duo are still together and giving each other a bit of a teasing, bit of fun. And then at the very end, we're hinted at that Winston wants to keep getting the Ghostbusters moving again, and who knows, maybe he'll hire the new people that just kind of showed that they have some good experience with it. But also that he wants to get to the firehouse and the Ecto-1 running again. But as this is all happening, we see in the basement that a red light is flickering on the containment system, and thus ends the movie.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Um,
And for Harold Ramis at the end of the touchy-feely family moment.
oh yeah. I want to kind of talk about like the individual characters, which actually, so Callie, I do find it funny that the actress's name was Carrie. They literally just turned the R's into L's.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so basically, her name is like if the Chinese Christmas carolers from A Christmas Story were trying to say her name.
Oops.
Um, I understand. Like it's easy to understand why she hated her dad, why she hated Egon, because she didn't know what the hell was going on. He just left, didn't tell
Yeah,
anyone
she
what
had
was going
no
on.
clue. Much
Like,
like the other Ghostbusters too. He tried telling them, but it's so wild that they really couldn't make heads or tails of it.
so yeah, I understood her character, especially because she's dirt broke. She's not exactly in a good headspace for most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe Paul Rudd's character is named Gary Gruberson. Like that sounds like a name you make up as a joke for a character.
Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that's a name of a character from the Boots of the Head jokes. Pretty sure that's the kid that gets kicked in the head so many times by the master that he just gives up and lays on the floor.
So we got the mother who's in a bad mood, the teacher that's crushing on the mother. Then we got the son Trevor, who is literally just your typical teenage guy who's horny. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much his character. Not that this is a bad thing; it works for what the story needs.
Oh.
Um, really, the star of this is Phoebe.
Oh yeah.
Like and the thing is, I normally find kid characters in a lot of stuff annoying. but I didn't find her or podcast annoying. I did just find it funny though that the kid literally people call him podcast because he has a podcast. Like
And I
that's
can see where some people might be a little annoyed at podcasts because he's very much a over the top note every once in a while. But honestly, I just think honestly, I didn't. It didn't really bother me too much. As maybe it's just because I'm technically a YouTube personality as well, so it's kind of a thing. But you do little notes like that for stuff for later, you know.
I mean and
Especially for an audio only podcast.
yeah. He does kind of have like a bit of a little stereotype thing going on there because there are a lot of movies where like the little Asian kid is like kind of overly enthusiastic like he is,
I
but
suppose.
he still never did anything that annoyed me, so it's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was funny that everybody was earlier in the movie was talking like Phoebe couldn't make friends with anybody, but she's literally like the first person out of the family to make a friend there.
Mm-hmm.
Too arguably, if you consider
Too technically, yeah.
that she kind of became buddy buddy with the teacher before
Yeah.
the teacher met her mom.
Formally, yeah.
I think he saw her before that, but he didn't really have a chance to interact with her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, any characters you thought were particularly interesting, or
I have to agree that Phoebe was definitely the one that won me over big time. It's obvious that a lot of the main plot is centered around her. Um, the other characters need to be there and need to be what they need to be in order for it to work. And that you can argue some semantics about that too. But the long and the short of it is she was handpicked because she, when in makeup, looks like a spitting image of Egon Spangler. The actress they picked can do the Egon Spangler thing really, really well. And honestly, they found the right through line to make this thing work, and it was definitely through Phoebe's eyes for the most part, with little side moments from here and there from other main characters of the story. Um, that said, it's nice to have the Ghostbusters back. At least have them have a decent cameo as themselves, and also having a nice variety of not only new ghosts but also bringing back the main like Gozer ghosts for at least a brief cameo, if not a couple of strong appearances from Terror Dogs and Gozer herself itself,
and the Marshmallow Gremlins.
and the Marshmallow Gremlins to at least represent that there's something out there in the ether that still stands there for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man creature that was destroyed. It remembers.
Um, so I guess we can talk about some of the scenes now because we kind of went over the characters. I mean, there are some other characters, but there's not that much to say about them. Like Lucky is just, she's the
She's a love interest of one of the
yeah,
lesser protagonists.
she's kind of got like the girl next door personality, except she's not actually living next door.
Hmm.
Um,
Of course, her dad's the sheriff or something big. Yeah.
I will say, we always got to have the authority figures that don't believe what's happening.
Hmm.
Plot point. But man, it's so annoying to see that after literally, like, it's not like they just drove through town blasting the proton pack at things at random. Multiple people saw the ghost. It flew like within feet of people's faces repeatedly. While it flew through buildings. It literally flew in between the mother and the teacher while they were on their date, and then they just act like they didn't see a ghost when they're picking the kids up from jail. Like, they just think that was their imagination. Like, I mean, the funny thing is the teacher believed them because he believed all the shit.
Oh,
But
because he knows what all this
but
stuff is.
but
Yeah.
but he wouldn't stand up for him because he didn't want to make the mom angry. It's just that's one of those stuff like that always irks me. Like I understand that people are skeptical, but like when there's like multiple eyewitnesses, like shouldn't just be like, well, they were just fucking around with a car and a laser beam.
Then how do you explain the guy who lost a bumper to whatever it was that you can't seem to explain?
Yeah, the guy lost the bumper, the stack of garbage cans that all had bites taken out of them,
Several stop signs that had bites taken out of them.
that all just happened to have the same blue goo oozing off of them. I did find it funny though that when that happened, and you see later in the movie when they're going back through the town again, the sign that said Burger Spinners before now says Burger Sinners because the P got wiped out, so it's not lit up in the night. Like, did you notice that?
I had not. Overheard you remark on something. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah. Just all the stuff's going crazy with the ghosts, and you see the burger place sign, and it says Burger Sinners instead of Burger Spinners. I thought that was a clever touch, even if it was caused by damage earlier in the movie rather than the ghosts showing up. Um, it was a little weird how like you I, after how poorly the 2016 movie performed, they obviously were trying to keep the budget down for this movie, which is why I think they had it take place in a city that's or
Yeah,
a town
a little
rather
town.
that's in
Yeah.
the middle of bumfuck nowhere, so that it was easy to justify them being out on the streets and there's not a bunch of people in the background.
Less extras, less production time, etc., etc. Yeah.
Right. Because I remember I was commenting on the fact that they're driving around and you literally know, oh, there's a car. A car drove by.
One car.
Finally saw movement aside from them in the town. And this did kind of irk me a little bit, like the guy when Paul Rudd's character, Mr. Gruberson, went in Walmart at night. It's okay. It's one thing that it's a 24-hour Walmart and he's in there really late and you don't see any other customers, but it's just weird that they chose to not show a single employee during that whole scene where ghosts start, the marshmallow man gremlin little things start spawning out of the marshmallow bags, and then the ghost dog chases them, and you don't see
Yeah.
any other human beings at all through
Yeah.
the whole
No other
thing.
shoppers, no other employees. Yeah, this place is open 24/7 in the middle of bumfuck nowhere town.
Yeah, that was a little weird. Like you could have at
It's already
least,
kind of holding a lot of disbelief just to have it exist, much less that it's open
yeah,
24/7.
yeah, a big, yeah, and that's the thing is like a Walmart would not open a location in a nowhere place like that because there's no money to be made there really.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so, and it was just weird. You could have at least, when he was being chased by the dog, at least had him like run by like a stock guy that has to jump out of the way or something. Because it just felt weird that we didn't see any other people in there at all. I mean, that's a minor nitpick, but that was just kind of weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did love the Ghost Egon scene
Oh yeah.
at the end. As someone who's not like the biggest fan of the series, that moment actually hit me harder than I thought it would.
Yeah,
Um,
that one, especially the first time through, is a little tugger on the heartstrings there.
Aside from all the other remaining Ghostbusters, kind of like giving a nod to him when they see him there. It's just the moment where he's helping Phoebe hold the proton pack steady. It's like a Goku Gohan father son Kamehameha moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Like that was the whole thing was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I this this movie I mentioned this to you before. The only other thing I can think of that revived an old property and paid as much respect to it as off the top of my head, is the Cobra Kai TV series, which brought back the Karate Kid
Yeah.
property. Um,
which I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard plenty of agreement on
right.
that one.
And in both cases, I think the newer thing actually just deepened my appreciation of the old thing more than it was before.
Yeah, because
Uh,
once again, it's proper new people who are taking the new helm, but they're actually properly driving this thing into a direction it needs to go into, especially trying to recover from everything that's happened in the last 20 years with the huge time gap.
yeah.
That's already a leap in of itself, and then trying to get everything else to tie up properly.
And you did comment that you think there's not as much humor as some of the other movies because they just had to do a lot of world building for both new fans and to explain everything that's changed since the original movies.
Yeah, they had to do a lot of world building and restating of things for new fans. They had to do a lot of enhancing of the world building for old fans, so they are on key with everything else going on. And once again, I believe one, if not both, the writers were actually technically like drama movie writers before this, so they have a good idea of like the family conflict and stuff like that. But it always being a comedy is not their thing, and honestly, maybe lightening up the comedy just a little bit is probably to their benefit. Because yeah, if they pull too hard on that, you undermine everything, including the heartfelt moment of Egon's send off.
Yeah. And this definitely worked better than whatever the fuck they did with the Borderlands movie, where
Yeah,
you took guys that are known for making horror movies and we're gonna put them in charge of an action comedy
yeah. Sheesh.
and have Jack
Actually,
Black shit bullets.
let me double check because the new director, is Jason Reitman, Reitman's son. So again, it's they're staying close to the family on this one. Um, his father Ivan directed Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2, and Stripes. Let me see here. I want a filmography, a really quick one. Um, Short films, feature films. Thank You for Smoking, Juno, Jennifer's Body Up in the Air, Young Adult, Jeff Who Lives at Home, Labor Day, Tully, The Front Runner, these two Ghostbuster movies, and Saturday Night, which came out the same year as Frozen Empire. Which I forget. I keep forgetting Frozen Empire came out this year.
And one thing we said about the 2016 attempted reboot,
Mm.
the actresses weren't the problem with that movie.
Oh no, no, they were not the lead problem.
So like I could easily if the people that made this had been in charge of that, I feel like that movie could have
They,
actually been good.
they could have done something with that. Yeah, they possibly could have actually done something and would have done a lot of fixing for that movie. But they chose who they chose. But yeah, a lot of drama, a lot of serious, semi-serious stuff with the new Mr. Reichman here. But obviously, from seeing this movie, he's got the chops for this, and
There,
he directs the next one too. So,
there any specific scenes you want to comment on before we wrap it up?
of course, obviously the really good one, the Egon standoff scene. The scene in the basement where he finally gets to show his daughter all the stuff that he's been watching her for. Obviously,
Oh
been
yeah,
paying attention, even if he can't be there. He wants to still know what's going on with her and how things are going.
yeah. How she thought that he didn't care, but like his ghost basically guided her to like
A giant
he
pin-up board
yeah
of like everything she's
yeah.
done for the last 30
It's
years.
it's basically like the do it for her thing from The Simpsons, but even more pictures than that.
hmm Yeah, this is what he's technically what he's doing it for. His family and technically his friends, although his friends are not understanding for whatever weird reason. Maybe he came off a little too frantic or whatever, and they're probably also still pissed off with the fact that he up and left them when he suddenly sensed there was something wrong. But I, in the end, even they had to admit, "Sorry, you're right."
Right. And it is a thing where it's really hard to understand that particular plot thing because we didn't actually see what happened. We've just got
Yeah, we weren't actually there. We were just hearing secondhand what they basically understood of what was going on at the time. Um,
And I did comment this. This is just not really a scene specific thing, but I did comment this while we were watching that. Man, it feels like in between the 2016 movie and this one, age just hit Dan Aykroyd like a ton of bricks because he didn't look that old, and when he was the cab driver in that, maybe it was because he was inside of a cab with poor lighting, but I don't know.
I'm thinking maybe it was the fact that they probably had a wig and a cap on him that kind of hit some of it too.
That's possible. And he didn't get as much screen time as like
Yeah, he was
Bill
very in
Murray.
and out.
Bill Murray just still looks like old Bill Murray in both movies.
Oh yeah. Outside that, oh the getting the Ecto One working was a fun moment. Testing out the proton pack and also seeing some of the new other enhancements like the Insta camera inside the goggles.
Oh yeah, you mentioning the proton pack? Yeah, I loved that when they set up like a target and Phoebe shoots it with the proton pack, and she's like, "Did I get it?" And podcast is like, "Did you get it? You
It doesn't exist
incinerated it. It
anymore.
doesn't exist anymore."
It's gone to another plane of existence.
Yeah, that was that was great.
um, Again, it's moments like that that instead of the moments where podcast is doing stuff for his podcast, and the moments where he's reacting to what's going on in front of him, that he becomes a much more generally interesting and engaging character too. So honestly, he has a lot of saving graces. That and his little rage moment against the Stay Puft Gremlins.
Oh yeah, he just started zapping all of them.
Yeah, the PKA turned into the PKA zapper, and he's just like, oh, ah! He just starts
Yeah,
going crazy inside the Ecto One.
yeah. And after all the chaos ends, he just comes out and he's just like,
Covered like
ba-
the Ghostbusters in number
yeah,
one.
yeah. He's basically got a coat of marshmallow wrapped around him.
Oh, and it also turns out that Ray is his one big fan that's been
Yeah,
donating to the podcast.
he's his only subscriber on the podcast.
Hmm.
What did he say? He really came into it in episode 46.
Yeah, 46. Episode 46 is the big one. Um, just yeah, honestly, there's a lot of really good little moments, but in general, the movie is. If you're willing to give it a couple of minutes that you might slow down a little bit for, the rest of the movie will quickly make it up for you. Because they do have to slow down for those little character beats and so forth, but then there's a lot of intrigue still going on in between, so it does not take very long to keep your interest pulled in.
Oh no, definitely very very good movie. I think that's more or less all we have to say about it.
Yeah, other than more gushing about the individual scenes, but so next time we're going to be in for an interesting one.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this one before, but neither of us has seen Frozen Empire, so that's going to be interesting.
Can't wait to actually watch it now that I've had another round of Afterlife. I have the physical copy right here.
Need more good movies to wash the taste of 2016 out of your mouth. Still,
Wood, yeah, knock on wood. They got more same characters back, so hopefully the fourth one's a good one too. So we'll have to wait and see next week.
all right. Until next time, everyone. You have a good one.
Good night.